Hey everybody, Tim Walsh coming to you live from the city of Glenview, where Mavis Division 3 is running acquired structure high-rise training. We've been here 3 days with 25 fire departments each day, over 300 firefighters, and an 8-story 400 by 400 building, putting out fires, making searches, and operating in a high-rise atmosphere. We're going to let you get signed in. Please follow along with us. We're going to talk about what we're doing here today, talk about the objectives of the training, and how you can get this training in your hometown. We're going to stand by for 2 minutes here for a moment of silence for the 2 firefighters that were killed in the city of Chicago over the last 2 days. Firefighter Jermaine Pelt from Engine 75 and Lieutenant John Chorick from Tower Ladder 10 succumbed to their injuries. We at the Fire Service Institute offer our condolences not only to their immediate family, but to their firefighter family. So please stand by. So what's going on now is we have an active fire on the 4th floor of this building. You can see the dimensions and the operations of this building right now over my right shoulder. Companies from all over Mavis Division 3 are actively participating in this live fire drill in this high-rise. Command has already been filled out, and companies are coming into the scene to operate within the fire building in separate positions. This is a 6-story commercial occupied building, sprinkled, 8 elevators, 7 stairwells. So companies are actually operating like they would in a real high-rise atmosphere. Company officers are checking in with the command post, and firefighters are standing by until they get their assignment of operation.
Engine 6-1 is hooking up on 3, standby for operation. I have me and engine 27. Message received. What stairwell are you using for your attack? North stairwell is fire attack.
Obviously, we are simulating the dispatch and the reflex time from the lobby. Instead of having companies drive to the scene, we're moving them in as needed, and assignments are being given out. The Red Center, which handles dispatch in this part of the state of Illinois, is actually dispatching these fire companies and these chief officers to go in service on the scene and then report to command. So we didn't want to eat up a lot of time with them driving into the scene. Their rigs are parked and their gear was staged outside, and companies are now moving into the lobby. These are some of the things that you see in a real high-rise fire. An overwhelming amount of support and firefighters coming into the building ready to work with all their tools. Over 75 pounds of gear for each individual to get up to the upper floors. This is only an 8-story building, and there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Okay, we're going to move it over to the command board and watch as company officers get their assignments to move to upper floors. We're going to move to the back side of the command board so you can see how those chief officers track those companies in the fire building, their accountability, and what operations are completed. And the operations that we're looking to get done initially are a charged standpipe, with a charged line, preferably a 2.5-inch line or a 2.25-inch line, led out to the seat of the fire with water on the fire. And the status of the search is on the fire floor and the floor above. These are how most high-rise companies work in the United States of America. And the ability of us to be able to burn in this building in a live fire, Class A fire atmosphere, compliant training on our FPA 1403 is critical to make sure that these firefighters, these company officers and chief officers can operate in this condition. Members are getting their assignments now, and they're moving up the fire attack stairwell. The elevators are out of service, so they are walking.
Fire attack from lobby control. We're having a little water issue. There'll be a minute or so before we get that to you.
So you can hear that they're actually hooking the standpipe on the outside of the building. They're having a water issue. And these are some of the issues that firefighters, chief officers, and company officers face when they go to these type of incidences. You can imagine a 6-story commercial occupied building, 400 feet by 400 feet. That's 16,000 square feet of fire involvement on the fire floor possibly, and then all those floors need to be searched. If you have questions for us while you're watching here, please type into the comment section and we'll answer those questions. We're going to be talking to command staff and company officers that are actually involved in the live firefight here just any minute. You can see here at the Illinois Fire Service Institute, we use the command board concept. So the command board in the lobby is keeping track of companies coming into the lobby, and then we move them up to forward fire command, which is 2 floors below the fire, so that forward fire command chief can then assign person power and equipment to where it's most needed in the fire building.
Battalion 6 is your fire attack chief.
Forward fire, you have Battalion 6 coming up for fire attack. Forward fire capture.
Okay, so now where are we at now? We got the rapid ascent team going to work. We've got a RIT team in place. We've got your forward fire attack, forward fire command. What do we need to do next? Ask him when he gets settled in. Just gave us see what else he needs. Then we got companies standing by in the lobby. Are we starting the searches on the fire floor and the floor above?
Forward fire command.
So as we talked about before, they're trying to get critical fire ground tasks completed right away. Water on the fire, primary search on the fire floor, and then fire attack, if there's any extension on the floor above, and then primary searches on the floor above. I want to introduce somebody that was instrumental in getting this training started here in the city of Glenview. And there's so many people involved in this for us to get this Illinois EPA burn permit and be able to perform this type of training. So Mike, would you come on in here with me? This is Deputy Chief Mike Rakowski from the Glenview Fire Department. And he's been instrumental in setting all this up with all the partners. Mike, would you talk about a little bit of all the people that have been involved in getting this set up for the city of Glenview?
Yeah, absolutely. We like to thank our board and our village and our city for supporting this effort. Dermody Properties, McDonough Demolition, without their cooperation, their public and private collaborative effort, we wouldn't be able to pull this off. I mean, they've been an outstanding host. They've allowed us to use this. They've allowed us to use this facility pretty much to whatever dimension we want to use it, and it's been absolutely fantastic. They've supported our efforts, and we can't say enough to thank them.
Talk about the collaboration, not only with the demolition company and the property owners, Dermody Properties, about how long it took to get to where we are and how many weeks you've already been training here before we started doing live fire.
Yeah, absolutely. So we started training here just department level in October. That's when Dermody took over. They allowed us to get into the buildings right away. We did some forcible entry. We really tried to utilize that crawl, walk, run concept of training, and we really built into this live fire evolutions that you guys have done a fantastic job of supporting. So 2 weeks ago, we invited same communities in Mavis Division 3 and Division 1 to do pretty much the same evolution: standpipes, stretching lines, hooking up to fire department connections, in a non-smoke environment. And then we progressed into live fire and real smoke in these environments.
Yeah, so the last time the Illinois Fire Service Institute was involved in high-rise firefighting for research purposes was with NIST 20 years ago, the National Institute of Safety and Technology, where we actually started to perform wind-driven fire studies in the old Robert Taylor homes in the south side of the city. And then those studies transferred to the Rock over at FDNY, and we've been participating in them. But to actually have, what do we have here today? We have like 65 firefighters from 20 different municipalities that are actually operating in this building. And talk about the new SOG that Mavis 3 is working on that we're testing.
Yeah, absolutely. And this was very convenient timing for us to take, the ability to train in this building, because Division 3 developed a draft SOG for high-rise operations. We are actually testing this in real-world conditions to see what's going to work and what's not going to work, and gives us the ability to go back to the drawing board, where a lot of times departments or divisions that are creating high-rise draft policies, they're just putting pen to paper. They don't have the opportunity to really test this out like we're doing here this week.
Awesome. Hey, we're also supported by partners with the Illinois Fire Service Institute that have given your firefighters in the whole division equipment to train with while they're here. So 3M Scott, Dragon Fire gloves, Elkhart nozzles, Task Force tips, Safe Fleet Corporation, Fire Mall tools are all been here for the last 3 days, allowing firefighters to take new equipment up in the fire building. Let's talk about what 1-800-BOARD-UP has done for you since they've been here.
Fantastic resource. They have provided us with all the materials to build out the fire floors, because we actually did have to build some fire rooms to contain where the live fire was going to be, and push smoke to different areas of the 4th floor where we're actually doing our evolutions. They provided all the materials. They're feeding us for the week, and everybody knows firemen like food. So they've been a fantastic resource so far, and literally have not said no to any requests we've had so far.
Talk about the importance of your command staff, you and Chief DeRosa, who's the chief of the Glenview Fire Department, to be able to exercise this SOG and have all these people here, along with other staff chiefs that have been here. There are some here today from Roselle. There were some here yesterday from Park Ridge. And to be able to look and see how it's actually operating in a live fire atmosphere. Now, we're using NFPA compliant materials to burn on the upper floors of straw and just basic light white wood, but they're actually performing fire control efforts with what they would usually use at a real response. So talk a little bit about that for me, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of the school of thought was, carrying an 1 3/4 hose, and we found through the education with key hose and task force tips that is not the horsepower we need to fight fires in a high-rise environment. We're finding out that we need a 2-inch or a 2 1/4 and a 2 1/2. So that's helping us change a lot of our internal tactics and policies and practices to upgrade to that level of equipment, so we do have the adequate gallons per minute to fight the BTUs in a high-rise environment. It's been great for our command staff. We have a pretty new command staff right now, so for them to exercise this in real-world conditions with our neighboring communities that are going to be responding on these high-rise operations has been fantastic. And like I said, we have not only departments from Division 3, but Division 1. We have some folks from Roselle. We have some people from Division 4 that are coming down. So this has not just been a Glenview-specific or a Mavis 3-specific regional training. We've went outside the borders and really brought in a lot of partners that are going to actually respond to the incidents when we do the one-day have.
Let's talk about one more thing, and I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. Let's talk about the training division here in Glenview that has spent weeks and hours prepping this building to make sure it's NFPA compliant. I watched the work that these guys did over just holiday breaks with their families. They were here every day, pounding nails, getting wood set up, making partition walls, sweeping glass. Please talk about their commitment to this training.
Oh, it's been outstanding. I can't really say enough about how much work our staff has done to prep this building and get it ready for the events of this week and next week. Like I said, we started doing some initial just company drills in October. The request went out to see if we could actually do live fire training. We submitted our burn permits, I think, a little bit before Christmas, and from then on it was just we hit the ground running as far as prepping the building, getting it cleaned out. We actually had pipe fitters come in and help us repair the standpipes. So we had 2 working standpipes in the building because of winter, it just destroyed them both. So Once again, it's those external partnerships that sometimes we don't tap into,
Right.
and we don't really realize the resources are available until we need it and actually utilize it.
Yeah, so the public-private partnership that fire departments all
Absolutely.
across the state of Illinois need is actually operating in this part of the state.
Yeah, in 100% essentially. We used to be so siloed and just kind of stick to our own business, but I think we're realizing, and for me personally, I didn't realize how much further we could go with this, and it's been outstanding so far.
Okay, so let's take a little break from me and you right now, especially me,
Absolutely.
and we'll go back over to the command board and see where we are in the status of the firefight and the status of the searches, and then we're going to come in and talk to somebody that's actually been up in the building, fighting fire earlier today, and get some real first-hand knowledge of what occurs up there.
Absolutely.
So let's move over to the command board, and then we'll switch who we're talking to.
Obviously, the radio's too crowded, so you're gonna go up. Your job is to search 2 of the elevators that are missing. Don't force any doors, they're already open.
Yeah.
And you are to report directly to IC in the lobby.
Okay. I see a lot of searching the elevators on what floors?
The floors are unknown, but it's car number 4 and 6
4 and
out of
6.
the 8.
What
2
company
missing.
are you guys?
Truck 14. And you will report directly to
I
command.
see, got it. Engine 13.
See how quiet it is at the command post. That's usually not the normal operation in a high-rise firefight. It becomes loud. There's more radio traffic. Citizens are calling in on the 911 line to say that they're having issues in their apartment. We're using this as a commercial structure. We'll be back here burning again all next week for 3 days and doing some residential fire attack with some residential injects to tax these companies a little bit more so they get used to the training and the tempo of the firefight as it operates in a high-rise situation.
So if he did give you those companies, it's okay to write them. It's gonna be double team.
So I have the captain of Tower Ladder 14 here in Glenview with me. Cap, please introduce yourself.
Derek Selzer with Glenview Fire Department.
So Derek has been here all week operating not only as a captain of a fire company, but as part of the training team as well, right?
Yep.
So please tell me how this built out just at the level of the blue shirts and company officers in Glenview.
Multiple stages from, we had guys from the training division that organized to help prep this building. They reached out to members, anyone that was available, just all hands on deck to come on out and help support to prep it. And then to be able to come out here after all that prep time and actually get to go to work and practice, the techniques and the styles that we're looking for and some of these changes that are being presented to us. It just brings it all together and makes it very worthwhile.
Talk about pearls of wisdom that you've picked up as a company officer, deploying people in a high-rise situation where there's actual live fire out there, searches that need to be made, and victims that need to be rescued. So there's simulated victims up there, not live victims, but sim mannequins that we're using to rescue up on the upper floors. Please talk about your experience in the fire buildings, leading a firefighting attack team, or the FAST team is what it's called here in Division 3, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, what we're learning, our current SOGs, the way we're running things right now, we're a little bit shy on the personnel that we need. So from that personnel, we need to up it and front load that. So what we're doing now with this training here, and we're tweaking with these SOGs, is that we're sending more engine companies and more truck companies in initially so that we can get that first line in place. We're learning that first line is absolutely critical, and then on how that building engineering and how they've actually got those PSI to where that top floor to where we need to be, and finding that these 2.5-inch lines are better off. So now we front load and we get those companies up there. We all get to the floor below where we have visibility. We lay out the lines, very systematic, got attention to detail. Once that lays out, you get everybody on that line, then we start moving forward. And then when we hit those pinch points, we got to start dropping people off so that the line keeps moving. And we're finding that it is very, very effective, and the efficiency has been great.
Talk about the difference from when you guys were first training in theater smoke as opposed to a live fire situation up there. More intense?
Oh, absolutely, right? Because you can actually start feeling a little bit of that heat as it starts to move and we open up into that fire room. So you have that element of heat, which just naturally is just going to add that little bit of stress. And then you have the instructors there that are just throwing positive injects that are causing a little bit more stress, that you start having your thought process. And this isn't just a routine training ground here, but it pushes it to that next level. So now you kind of actually go into that system 2 thought process, you know, where you have to think things through and make sure that you're methodical and you got everything dialed in where you need to be.
Yeah, what's the biggest takeaway for you as a company officer in your company as we leave here today and then we go into the firefight next week for 3 more days with different injects?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the takeaway here is that we come out here, if we do a good job, what can we do to make it better? And then if we came up short on something, this is the place to do it. So if we're going to come short, let's learn here so we can make those adjustments and tweaks. Now coming into next week, we make those adjustments and hopefully we're even more efficient. And we'll get that feedback from the instructors themselves, and they'll tell us, hey, this is something you need to work on, or this is what we've seen that has worked. And that's what's been the greatest, actually, these instructors that are out here from FSI. You know, talking with them, it's like, hey, we're not here to talk down to you, but we're going to tell you the mistakes that we've made and how this might be able to make you better. And just to be on that level, that same level there, to have that conversation, it speaks volumes.
Yeah, so I think we have 25 total instructors out here today, 7 of which are chief officers that have operated in the high-rise incident command system, and the rest are company officers and or firefighters that have actually been on parts of fire teams and led companies into high-rise buildings all across the state of Illinois. We are picking up several other additional high-rise buildings here in the state of Illinois. This will not be the first time that we have live high-rise acquired structure training that's NFPA compliant. We are going to be back here, like I said, 3 days next week with different injects to make sure that we're covering everything that we need. And we're not only talking to the instructors, but we're talking to people that are coming in here to see what you guys want. What's some of the things that you might be looking for next week, Cap, as we move towards additional burns?
So this week I've seen a really heavy influence on lead outs and making sure that we're getting that line in place. I'm hoping to maybe see some tactics and some tips on the large area searches, right? Once we get that line in place, and now we can start doing our searches, primary floor, floor above, top floor, and then working our way back down. So focusing some strong points on the searches, I think, is going to be really good, especially that, you know, the rope assisted search in those large areas. I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, why don't we take another break, because I asked you more questions than I told you I was going to ask you.
All right, that sounds great.
And we'll move back over to the command board, and then we'll come back and close it out for today. So please, again, if you have any questions, go ahead and type into the comments, and we'll answer those questions as we go along. As you can see, all the firefighters and company officers that were in the lobby waiting for assignments have been assigned to the building, and they're actually performing fire attack, search, ventilation, control of systems, and answering any injects as to missing people in the fire building or phone calls from the 911 system that are related to the incident command post. Chief Hoff, can we borrow you for a minute?
Sure.
So I'm with a more senior chief, I don't get to say that to him too often on a live feed, who is helping chief officers with knowledge and experience that we've gained on the fire ground, unfortunately, with things that have happened in the last few days in the city and while we served there. So Bobby, talk about some of the things that you think are important to the firefight, not only for the chief officer, but the company officers and the firefighters operating here.
Well, number one is accountability. When we come in the building, is that all the company, the members and the officers are accounted for. So they come into the lobby, they report to the incident commander in the lobby. It's like Checkpoint Charlie, they check in with them there, and then they're assigned to their tasks or disciplines upstairs in the building. There's a forward fire command chief that they report to. They will write down and document where they're working in the building. If it branches off where we need a lot of companies, it'll be a search and rescue chief that's up there, and we have the 9 positions of the chiefs that we can plug in written on the wall, or if you want to talk about that in a minute. But the biggest thing that we stress with the company officers and the chief officers is accountability. Their plans, their SOGs, their guidelines for high-rise operations have to be practiced as we're doing here today. It has to be hands-on because the basics in our business have to be followed. The disciplines of companies coming in and doing searches, putting water on the fire, the chiefs keeping track of the companies that are above them due to smoke conditions, fire conditions. That is so critical for us because if we have, as in the cases has been happening, we had a firefighter go down, a lot of things are going to go awry. So we need the discipline to keep the companies in line, to know where they're at and what they're doing in this building.
So we had one question that I'm going to answer, Chief. Caleb Howard from down in the state has asked if we're going to do any of this training in the southern part of the state. And Caleb, actually we are. I can't share the name of the city because we're just formalizing that contract. Our academy students are doing a little bit of training there now, not live fire, but we will be doing some live fire high-rise training in the southeast part of the state later this year. And we have 2 buildings here, and the Glenview Deputy Chief has told me there's a possibility of another building here. So we work with those local fire departments, wherever those buildings are, to get that EPA permit filled out. We help them do that. We provide resources to get that done, and then they actually submit it, and then we provide our acquired live structure team here at the Illinois Fire Service Institute to come in and provide that training under live fire conditions so that firefighters can get real training that replicates what they do on a daily basis. Chief, let's talk about the positions of command, which is something that we preach here all the time and something that these chief officers are doing now. Hey, Chiefs, if we could just have you slide away from the positions of command board, I'm going to have Chief Hoff talk about that for a minute.
Basically what we do is we plug the chiefs into these positions. One would be obviously incident command in the lobby because we want to have, and that's going to work with the plans chief, someone to document the things going on because it's going to be fast pitching in the beginning of a fire. The second one is that chief officer upstairs, which is forward fire command, which does a secondary documentation of all the companies going to work above the ground level. That person reports to the incident commander. If they need more companies up there, that's where he gets them from command. Fire attack, the chief on the fire floor, in this building here, it's a 400 by 400 building. The fire floor is a large area, broken in, subdivided into rooms. So that fire attack chief up there is to supervise and oversee the companies working on that floor. When they go on their bells, how are we doing on the fire? Our biggest thing is the status of the fire in the building and the status of the searches being conducted. We do primary searches, we do secondary searches, and we do final searches. If that floor's above, if we're in a higher building, we're going to have a search and rescue chief. That chief is going to go up and take over the search and rescue operations and have companies assigned to him. So we break down the disciplines and the chiefs oversee those, and they oversee those companies doing those tasks. Obviously, at any fire, we have a RIT team, which is there for firefighters if they go down. A plans chief is working down here. It could be in a command van or it could be in the lobby with the chief working on documentation. Lobby control, building systems. We have elevators. For example, this building has 8 elevators in it. So we need to recall all the elevators, not just the elevators that the firefighters used on recall. We got to search those elevators. We have to search the stairwells. EMS is a major component because not only are we worried about the civilians, but because of the workload of the firefighters going on upstairs, we're going to have a support logistic area and an EMS area where they can go for rehab on the upper floors. This is only a 6-story building, but if we have a 20-story building, those firefighters are going to have to rehab somewhere up in the area so they don't have to walk all the way down. We have a safety chief that goes and floats and supervises everything. And then if we have enough chiefs on the scene, in the case of suburban departments, we would put support and logistics, plug that into a position. So they're overseeing EMS, they're overseeing rehab, and they're overseeing equipment coming up, such as air bottles being filled and replaced. So those are the basic positions for chief officers.
Chief, anything else that we haven't covered today, me or you? I know you didn't listen to me in the beginning because you were helping run the fire, but I think we've covered it all. Is there any?
I truly believe that what we're doing here and the opportunity that the Glenview Fire Department has provided for MABUS Division 3 is outstanding. This training doesn't come very often, but it's a necessity. We can sit and pre-plan and do paperwork and look at a fire, but until the companies actually come in and perform what they're doing today, and the chief officers have the opportunity to do the sets and reps of accountability in a fire building, this is what needs to be done all over the country, in my eyes.
Once again, we'd like to offer our condolences to the family of firefighter Jermaine Pelt from Engine 75 and Lieutenant John Chorik from Tower Ladder 10, who succumbed to their injuries and extra alarms the last 2 days. You want to sign off for me? Can you do it?
Yeah,
So this is
please,
Tim Walsh signing off from the city of the village of Glenview, where we're doing high-rise live fire training. We'll be coming to you again for FDIC in a couple of weeks, where our RIT program is sold out. RIT Hot FDIC 2023 on the campus of the Illinois Fire Service Institute. Take care of each other, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.